All right, good evening, everyone. It is your girl, Marcy Thomas, here with you again for another exciting episode of the BGC Book Club. If this is your first time, welcome into the space. You can let us know where you're joining us from if you would like in the comments, just so we kind of know who's here, and I can't wait to get into it. If this is your first time, the BGC Book Club has been around since April of 2020 during the pandemic, when I decided to not only just talk about wonderful Black women who are doing things historically, but also to really feature Black women writers, because there's so many out there that don't always get the love that they deserve. And so I wanted to be one who changed that narrative. So welcome. And I'm super excited about tonight's guest because this is actually her second time with us. I had to ask her, like, when was it? And I looked it up, and it was actually in December of 2020. So she was in the first few months. So it's really exciting that she had enough of fun that she wanted to come back. So that's exciting to know. But her first book was Saving Ruby King, which we had an opportunity to talk about then. And today we'll be talking about her companion book, which is The Two Lives of Sara, which actually came out just about a month ago. So by means of introduction, let me tell you about Catherine Adel West. Was born and raised in Chicago, where she currently resides. She graduated with both her bachelor's and master's of science in journalism from the University of Illinois, Urbana. Her work is published in Black Fox Literary Magazine, 5 to 1, Better Than Starbucks, Doors Ajar, 805 Lit Plus Art, The Helix Magazine, Lunch Ticket, and Gay Magazine. As I already mentioned, she's the author of Saving Ruby King, and she was named one of USA Today's Black Authors You Should Know. So without any further delay, let's welcome Catherine to the room. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Marcy. It's so wonderful to be back.
Oh, yes. We've been following each other. I'm like, when that next book comes out, gotta see you, gotta come back.
Of course. However, the 10th book, the 11th book, whenever you want me, I'll be there.
Okay, all right, that's good to know.
Yes. No. I shouldn't have sung. Don't do that. I shouldn't have did that.
Well, it's so good to have you here, as I mentioned. So for those who may not be familiar with your story, please just give us a little tidbit of what The Two Lives of Sara is all about, and then we can get into some questions.
Absolutely. So The Two Lives of Sara follow Sara King, one of the characters from Saving Ruby King, but it takes us back to the 60s and the events that solidified her into becoming the person that we learned about in Saving Ruby King. But The Two Lives of Sara is a companion novel, meaning it can be read in any order. So you could read that book and then Saving Ruby King or Saving Ruby King and, then The Two Lives of Sara, or each as a standalone. So, one is not dependent upon the other. But The Two Lives of Sara takes place in Memphis, Tennessee, early 1960s. And it deals with a lot of things, overcoming, your trauma, Black culture, Black literature, Black food, and found family, and the choices that we make in either holding on to the things that have hurt us or trying to let them go.
Mm-hmm. And that is a really great synopsis. As I mentioned, I really enjoyed reading this book, and having the opportunity to read both. There were points where I was trying to remember what I read in the other, but you are right. It definitely stands alone in this story. And both of your books feature very strong Black women characters, which is what we love here. So
absolutely.
I really love that. Well, one of the things, there were several different characters from the first book, as we talked about before we came live. There were several different characters that you maybe could have chosen to talk about because the characters were so well written and rich characters that had, good and bad in them. What was it specifically about Sara King that made you decide to choose her to write a story about?
I think when it came to Sara is just that I always dubbed her a toxic legend, right? Mm-hmm. So like, when you meet her Saving Ruby King, you just like, she is mean, and why is she like this? And there's a part near the end of Saving Ruby King where she's inside of a church, inside of the church, and she's talking about all these things she experienced in Memphis. Now, originally, these were just some throwaway lines that I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, this is just pretty. This just sounds good. I'm just going to write this." And this is before I had an agent, a book deal. This was just something that I just wrote, and it was something that still always drew me. I mean, I wrote it, but then I thought about like, I wonder what did happen in Memphis. And so when I was preparing ideas for a second book to pitch to my publisher, this was one of the ideas, and she loved it. My agent loved it. And it was just something that I already wanted to explore when, even as I wrote the lines, I was like, this does sound like a really good story. And Sara is just there's so many facets to her to
Mhm.
explore that I just felt that she was a character that I wanted to take a deeper dive into. And that's kind of like how I made the decision. It was just like a couple of throwaway lines that wound up becoming a whole nother book.
Wow, and that's really powerful to think that. So for anybody out there who's a writer or music or whatever, a poet, whatever the case may be, sometimes that thing you might not think that much of, it could be just the gem that you need to take and explore and do even more with it. So that's exciting to know that that's how that came about. I really love Sara because she is a complex person, in this story. And you meet her and she's, having to make all of these different tough decisions about her life, where she's going to go, what she's going to do. And there are certain things that are just kind of sticking with her that we learn throughout the course of the book of how she got to that point. But one of the things that really stands out for her and Mama Sugar, whose boarding house she's staying in, they're both dealing with issues as it pertains to being mothers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not a mom yet. I will be, one day. But we all know motherhood is tough in ways that nobody can explain to you, really, unless you go through it, right? And then Black motherhood, that has like
Right.
a whole lot of layers, because it's not just the normal things of motherhood, but then it becomes about race and protection, and how you instill those things into your kids without making them fearful of the world around them. Or how do you like protect yourself, or how do you not let the things that have happened to you permeate the lives of your kids, right?
Mhm.
So it's just one of those things that seemed inextricable from the characters of Sara and Mama Sugar. Like, I couldn't explore those characters without exploring motherhood, or Black motherhood, and the effects that it has on not just their kids, right, but like the community at large. Because I mean, like, the things that we hold on to, and the things that your children don't know about until they're adults, or may not ever know about. You know what I mean? It's like sharing your story as a woman once they're grown, and just be like, okay, so like, this is what I went through,
Mhm.
and and this is why I did what I did, or these were the reasons like behind my actions. So I just felt that that was something extremely important to explore.
It definitely is because a lot of times, and it comes up oftentimes, like when Mother's Day comes about. People will, you have all these people with these glowing, my mom, mama, mama, mama. But then you have other people who don't necessarily have those same experiences.
Right.
And being, understanding of the fact that everybody doesn't have a positive experience, with the person who birthed them, but that there can be other people who step in, and even with that person who did birth them, sometimes there are reasons why it wasn't what.
Exactly. And that's why found family becomes such a big theme in the book, right? You know what I mean? Because like Sara's mom died when, she was very young, and, what happens when you do have that kind of loss? Like, how do you cobble together, a set of people, or a group of people that can somehow still nurture you and you them, and it be a somewhat positive experience, not always an easy experience, family found or biological. It's not an easy experience always, but it's something that we as people, as humans, no matter what creed, race, culture, it's something that we all crave, period. We're like not meant to really be alone, solitary, and isolated. We're meant to be around a group of people, and how you find those people and how you learn to break down your own walls and your own barriers in order to open yourself up to accept love and accept yourself in the process.
And that is so important, because even if you have a traditional family, that found family is a lot, because I know even now, this book takes place in a different era, but even now, just thinking of the fact that sometimes those people, that family that you're born into, might not be the one that's going to give you what it is that you really need to survive and thrive and be all that you're supposed to be. Doesn't mean that you don't love them or care for them, but sometimes there have to be certain boundaries that you put in place because of just the history or some of the traumas or things like are happening in this book. So being able to get out in the world and find your tribe, so to speak, that's real important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and like you said, it doesn't mean you don't love those people, but it just means like I've kind of, and my mom and I kind of dubbed it like, you just have to put people on a shelf, right? To just be like, look, God bless them. I love them. Don't want nothing bad to happen to them. I wish them but the best for them. But like trying to deal with them one-on-one isn't healthy for me to be able to do. And also learning to not assign yourself guilt or blame for having to protect yourself from those people just because they hold the title of family or they have the same Dana or DNA as you. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we find ourselves like, well, what can I do? Why didn't I? Or, you know what I mean? And we kind of make it one-sided instead of looking at the situation as a whole and figuring out, okay, like, why isn't this working on both ends? And sometimes it's because the person is toxic, whether they mean to be or not. You know what I mean? And it's something that you can try to work on, but the other person has to want to work on it too. And if they don't, then you know what I mean? So it's just sometimes you just got to put somebody on a shelf. You wish the best for them, God bless them. But like, in order for you to maintain your sanity, like you just kind of gotta be like, all right, I gotta let you go. You know what I mean? Until God says different,
Right, that is so true, because I have situations like that. I'm sure everybody does.
Right.
Certain people are way on the shelf, way.
They're like way on that top shelf.
These are a bit too close.
Okay, like they way on the shelf. They done collected dust. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
like,
right.
Just had to, you had to kind of let that situation of that person go. And once again, it's not like assigning yourself blame for why didn't it work out. It's just like not everything works out.
One of the things about Sara, though, just looking at her life experience, and she ends up in Memphis, based upon some things that are happening to her. We don't do spoilers here, so you have to read it. But she ends up in Memphis, and there's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of pain. She seeks out, a community to kind of help her deal with some things, but yet she's still very guarded. And I mean, I know it happens a lot, but do you see or do you find that in the process of writing that was important to show that even though she goes to this new place, she still has her issues are going with her no matter where she is?
Well, yeah, because it's realistic, right? Just because you leave one place behind doesn't mean you leave yourself or your problems or your secrets or your issues behind. And the thing is, it's kind of like she really wasn't seeking anything out. It's like people will just some people will just be one of those people that is just like, that'll just kind of pull you along or drag you along until you can recognize what it is that you're doing that's unhealthy, and then you figure it out. So like the way Sara closed herself off to everybody was like super unhealthy. And but once again, it's a defense and it's a protection mechanism because of the things that have happened to her, which we learned about in Saving Ruby King and we learned about in the Two Lives of Sara. So I kind of feel it's one of those things where just because you leave a place behind or your home behind, you don't leave all the issues
Right.
that came with the home behind. You know what I mean? Like, the mind goes with you, your memories go with you. You know what I mean? Your thoughts and how you react to things, your psyche, like that goes with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? As much as we would love to be able, I ran away to get away from these problems. And then the problems don't, if there's a force field, the problem's like, oh, I can't leave the Chicago area like they're
Right.
on house arrest. You know what I mean? But that doesn't, that's not realistic. That doesn't happen. And I really wanted to show, just the ideal of lingering trauma and how you try to, kind of like pull yourself up and out of it. And also when other bad things happen to you, like what do you do with that trauma? You know what I mean? Like you have a choice to pull yourself up and out, but you also don't have to. And that can like linger and that can fester. So it's really about the choices that we make through trauma that kind of galvanize the character and the people that we become.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that I loved, like you said, she was still resistant, but there were people who were there to draw her out and, and to speak hope and to speak life into her, which, I found was very powerful. And, just the whole idea of chosen family and community, because it was the people that were right there in the household with her, but then it was the community as well that embraced her. And I just feel like even though we have all this social media and things like that, and it has a space, I mean, you and I wouldn't know each other if it wasn't
exactly, absolutely
platform. So it's good, but then at the same token, there's a piece that's missing of us really being able to get together and love on each other and really develop relationship in a way that is meaningful, in some ways more lasting.
Yeah, I know a hug is powerful, right?
Right.
But that's what I kind of wanted to show, the power of community, the power of acceptance, in its best forms, and then sometimes its nosiest forms, like where you from, where you at, because we all know that we have, people in the community who mean well. Like I have a next door neighbor who means well, but she about the nosiest thing. Like I saw such and such come in your house. Why you pay attention to who comes in and outside of my home? Like,
right, exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's just showing all the good things about community, Black community, and all of the things that we kind of chuckle at and we kind of laugh at, especially like when we deal with church culture. You know what I mean? And church revivals and church picnics and all the things that go along with that, and just the little funny and lighter moments. I definitely wanted to imbue the 2 Lives of Sara with that, for somebody to read those scenes and be like, oh, yep, I know somebody like that. I know somebody like that. I know somebody like that. That actually happened to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just, one of the scenes that I really enjoyed writing, and kind of a lighter moment, before some other things happened in the book. So I really enjoyed writing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was good. And that kind of is my segue, because you talked about the church and the picnics and stuff. I told you beforehand that I feel like the food was one of the characters. But of course you were, this takes place in Memphis, which, Memphis barbecue and, all these different things. Plus it's the South, it's the 60s. People were just coming together, and part of community was coming together to eat and to throw down.
Absolutely. And I mean, food is a big part of the 2 Lives of Sara, so much so that in earlier drafts, I went into extreme detail in terms of like the preparation of the food.
Oh, wow.
And how long it takes for us, you know what I mean? Like creaming butter and sugar by hand for a cake, how salmon patties are made, specifically what goes into fried chicken and all of this. And I mean, like, of course, and yes, it's a lot of Southern dishes, but like because of the Great Migration, all the Southern dishes are like
Right.
Northern dishes, Southern dishes. And, you know, we all have our nuances, you know what I mean? You know, savory grits versus sweet. Like people will.
Oh yeah, you went there in the book.
Yeah, people will throw down. It's like the Bloods and the Crips. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not. I can eat it either way. I'm not particularly, you know, like I'm no respecter of persons when it comes to the grits, but some people will just, you know, like, oh Lord Jesus, is it like that, Deacon Jones? It's not. You don't have to call him out his name because he likes the savory grits, Lord. But like food was just such an important part of why I, you know, or such an important part of the book that I really, really felt compelled to do my best to express the love of food, how we prepare food, how we make food. And I got into it in such detail. My editor had to be like, okay, like I understand this is important to you, but we don't need to know specifically that you clarify butter to get crispy hash browns, okay? Like, cut that out. Like, we don't know that you need, you know, we don't need to know that you need like, you know, like a quarter of a teaspoon of cumin for such and such. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
add the recipes to the book. Now that would have been a thing.
Well, actually, my press kit that goes along with the 2 Lives of Sara, which you can find on my author website, CatherineAdelWest.com, actually has a couple of recipes.
Ooh, okay. Well, Tamara's saying it made her want to eat some barbecue and cake. So, you know, be on the lookout for that. Go to the website, Tamara, and get those recipes. Yes, I was definitely, matter of fact, I had some pulled pork yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, but see, and this is when you find out certain nuances. So like me being raised, you know, and you know, in the North, like, you know, as African American, as opposed to being raised in the South. So the whole, like, there's like this whole conversation in the book between Sara and Jonas about pulled pork sandwiches versus like it's a barbecue sandwich. He's like, it's a barbecue sandwich that's on the bun. No, specifically it's pulled pork. That's what's on the bun. Like, I had that specific conversation with someone, and I was like, that's when you kind of realize the nuances a little bit between being raised, you know, in the North versus being raised in the South. Because I'm like, it's a pulled pork sandwich. Like, no, it's a barbecue sandwich. It was barbecue. That's what's on the bun. You know what I mean? And like, you'll go back and forth with it. Right. And it's just like one of the, you know, to me, it's like one of the more lighthearted things that you joke about that you know, that you tend to discuss. But yeah, it made me want some barbecue as well. So
and one of the things I think in there, you mentioned pop one time. So that's definitely an up north thing because I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally. We say pop. Here, you know, I'm in Atlanta now. It's soda.
But, they say soda, and you say, because I made sure Sara said pop. Why? Because she's from Chicago. When in Chicago, we say pop. You know what I'm saying? And you go to the South, they say soda. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, can I have a pop? They'd be like, you have a what? I'm like, you just gonna make me say soda. You know good and doggone well what I'm asking for. Give me a Pepsi. You understand that? Give me a Pepsi.
Yeah, they understand Pepsi. And see, I'm in Atlanta, so it's all about Coke. So
oh, you know what? I'm good with Coke. Personally, I prefer Coke to Pepsi. I really, because I mean, it's stronger. You know what I mean? And Pepsi a little too syrupy, you know, for me. Like, it's a little too sugary. You know, Coke gets you that, you know.
But I thought that was great that you talked about that. Tamara's also saying it's interesting. We're taught don't cook angry and don't eat food from people who cook when they are angry.
Oh yeah. I've definitely heard that. But I mean, if you know that the person can cook, I don't care if you're angry, happy, sad, can you just put something on my plate? I'm hungry.
Right. And for me, it's like it all goes back to that whole thing of community and being able to express love, because a lot of times people may not have had a lot of things they could give you.
Right, exactly.
In that kitchen, and they could throw down and, you know, give you some good food to eat, and then that was a way of expressing love and things like that. So I thought,
you know what I mean, people just don't have those. Some people are like. I loved my grandma to death, and my grandma was wonderful. And you never doubted that she loved you, right? But she wasn't like, oh, I love you so much, baby. Da-da-da-da. She wasn't one of those people.
Right.
But you knew by what she did, like by, you know, through her actions, how much she really, really, really loved you. Right. And some people just don't aren't really, just, oh, I love you so much, but they will get in that kitchen and it'll be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours and prepare a meal for you that's just finger looking good. And that's, how they show their love. But like you said, we may not, have a lot, but I have this food that I've prepared with, my whole heart.
So no, when I was growing up, my thing was my maternal grandmother's chicken and dumplings. She would always make me chicken and dumplings because she made the best. So I know about that.
I had chicken and noodles was one of my favorites.
Oh, okay.
From my grandma, I was just like, ooh, chicken and noodles.
Well, we're not going to talk about food for the rest of the night because we could. But
okay.
One of the things I love about Memphis, well, number one, why Memphis and not another southern city? Because there are a lot of southern cities that hold a lot of history, especially during the civil rights movement. But why Memphis?
Absolutely. And Memphis, because I not only is it a completely phenomenal city, I didn't have a choice. So remember when I was talking about saving Ruby King, and I was writing those throwaway lines? The throwaway lines included the city of Memphis.
Gotcha.
So I couldn't all of a sudden put her at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Georgia, like I could, or was it Alabama? I'm sorry, forgive me. It's night, but like I couldn't put her in Birmingham. I couldn't put her in Atlanta. I couldn't put her in, Dallas. I said Memphis, so I had to stick with Memphis, right? But everything I learned about Memphis, Lord Jesus, like it was almost kismet. Like it was meant to be, and everything that I learned about Memphis that I didn't know, Sara learned about Memphis. So when we're seeing Sara learn about these things for the first time, it's like me learning about these things for the first time. And I also think it lends to the authenticity of the book, the way that Sara experiences Memphis, because like I said, that was the way that I experienced it. And due to COVID, unfortunately, I had originally planned to like visit Memphis and all of that, but I was unable to. But what I wound up doing was, I was gonna read books anyway, obviously about Memphis. But in addition to books and articles and newspapers, I did interviews with people who lived in Memphis, and they were a great blessing and taught me stuff about Memphis that I didn't really, get in the books with the articles and stuff like that, which once again led to the authenticity. And the conversation that Jonas had with Sara about barbecue was a conversation I had with one of the interviewees about barbecue. And also, I didn't know about, there's a dish mentioned in the book, butter rolls. I didn't know about butter rolls.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I know about it now.
Have you had a chance to try any yet?
No, I haven't had a chance to try any yet. But I know when I go down south, I'll be doing it. I'll be like, butter rolls. Butter rolls. What hammer grits, savory and sweet, butter rolls, barbecue. Man, I'm gonna just be coming back like with stretch pants, like well, I don't know how I don't fit into an 18 no more. I don't know how I'm a 24. I went down when I was an 18 when I went. I don't know where these extra 60 pounds came from.
Oh yeah, you can eat good down here. That's
yeah. Sure. Oh yeah, I know, right? Like at least I can be like, okay, all right, I didn't have it. Let me go get the salad. Let me go eat some of this fish. But in the South, I really don't believe I would have that kind of self-discipline.
Okay.
At all. I don't see me ever having a bad meal down there.
Yeah.
So I just be like,
where you go, because
be like, well, I was gonna get some baked salmon, but this fried catfish, this
right.
Let me go ahead and give me some of that. Let me go ahead and get some of them shrimp and grits, even though I'm allergic to shellfish. It's fine. The God will protect. No, wow. I still eat some shellfish. I ain't gonna lie. Not a lot. Else I'll be looking
every
like
now
Will
and
Smith.
again.
Yeah, like I look like Will Smith did on Hitch. So not a lot, but just like I'll have shrimp and grits, and I'm like, let me count how many shrimp they put in there. They only put in 7. Okay, if they put in 9, I would have had to put.
That would have been a problem. That would have been a problem.
Pick out 2 and just So.
Ooh, you got me cracking up. One of the other things I love about Memphis is, of course, the musical history in Memphis. And you talk a lot about music in the book. You talk a lot about, some of the Black authors and writers of the time, through Jonas, who's a teacher, an educator, and he's, educating Will in the book. So how did you really get into that, or what things did you do besides just your knowledge of Black literature anyway, but bring in the music and all that? Were there certain things that you did so you kind of know what songs would have been popular or things like that during that time to bring this in?
Absolutely. So, I did a lot of research when it came to the songs of that time, because, some of the songs that I loved wouldn't necessarily fit into the time frame. So I had no choice but to look this up and just figure out, this song came out in 61 or 60 or in 59. Okay, great. I can use this song. Oh, this song came out in 65, 67. Damn, no, I can't use this one. So I didn't really have a choice but to, because I didn't want to hear from somebody who knows music to the point, just now you said this book takes place in the early 60s, but this song was written in 67. You know what I mean? So I did, the research, and it was one of the more fun points of research to figure out the music, to figure out the literature. But one of the more difficult things wasn't just to figure out the literature. It was to reanalyze, because some of the literature I hadn't read in a really long time. So How It Feels to Be Colored Me by Zora Neale Hurston. I hadn't read that, and I want to say 2-3 years, maybe more. You know what I mean? And then I had to read it and super analyze it. And then Will, who's Mama Sugar's grandson, I had to break it down in such a way that it made sense for, how he wrote about it. So he didn't sound like he's doing a college dissertation.
Gotcha.
He sounds like a 12-year-old reading this for the first time. I was young reading this for the first time, and my thoughts about it. You know what I mean? Because I really identified with Zora Neale Hurston and how, she grew up and how she looked at herself and identified herself, especially when she was in an atmosphere where it had white people and how, you still feel othered even amongst your people. So, it was interesting to explore some of those things, because then I had to relive some, memories that I had pretty much, forgotten about. But once again, it found its way into the book, and I'm really super thankful for it.
Right. And I really love that, because, as a person who loves Black culture, you can't see, but over here I have a record player with albums, and, you see all the books behind me. And,
yes.
I love film. I love Black art in any form.
Yes.
Pictures on the wall, all of that. I love Black art in any form. So it was good to see that in the story and see, how you incorporated the different writers, Baldwin and, some of the others that are incorporated into the book, and, the music as well, because, I love music, there's certain songs. The other night I was up late. They had the Time Life commercial on for the hits of the 70s, the soul hits of the 70s. And I was like, yes, all right. Yeah, I'm telling my age, but y'all know my birthday was a week ago. I'm 56.
Happy belated.
Thank you.
Oh, 56? Oh, yes. You said 26?
Yeah, well, yeah, on the 26th.
Oh, no, I thought you said you were 26. I don't see no wrinkles. Your skin looks so supple. Wonderful, wonderful.
It don't crack.
It really don't. You live, you do what you're supposed to do. It doesn't crack. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it's true.
Then you
Somebody
get to
said it
about
doesn't sag,
80.
but it might sag a little, but it hasn't
I
done
mean, but then you get to about 80, you're like, okay, so then where did the wrinkles come from? Because I didn't have wrinkles. And all of a sudden I got
Yeah,
some.
they come out of nowhere. But it's just something that as I was watching it, I can remember all of these songs from the 70s. I remember, my father playing those records in the house, or, I might remember watching Soul Train or, whatever, and really enjoying that music. So I thought it was really great. 'Cause, I mean, you can tell a story and you can put it back in time, but when you can take real things that people can go and, either pick up the book, hey, I got a reading list within this book. I have some, I can go create a Spotify list off of the songs you mentioned in this book. It
I
just
mean,
makes it more
I literally have like a playlist with the songs like on my phone, and I would listen to it a lot when I was writing it. So, so I just really, enjoyed it and kind of I just had so much fun with it. You know what I mean? And then also, exploring people, that I had, listened to like Nina Simone and Sam Cooke.
Right.
Now, we all have Nina Simone songs, we all have Sam
Right.
Cooke songs on our phone, right? But like really exploring who they were and their songs and what their songs were about. And it was so funny because I had an interview recently, and because and I don't know if like a lot of people know this, but I'll share it. It takes you can't really put in like song lyrics in a book unless you like pay the artist or pay the estate or whomever, something like that. So I had to find a way around that. So you can mention the song title. So but that costs money. He just be like, look, it's $1,100 a lyric or something like that, and I'm like, okay, I ain't got $1,100 just and so and some artists might just say, you can use it for free, I won't charge you anything, right? But for the songs that I wanted to, the songs that I listed, so what I did was I listened to the songs over and over and learned to describe how the song sounded.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I would listen to a song and just say, okay, so okay, so it's the cymbals, then it's the piano, and then it's this, and then it's that, and then it's the drums, and this is, it sounds like really heavy in this part, but really light in this part. So, I had to, describe the how the song sounded, which was a welcome challenge. It was a welcome challenge. And then you learn even things like, you can look up a song and you can find out like who sung background. So one of my favorite Sam Cooke songs is Bring It On Home to Me, right? And when I was doing research for the song, I found out Lou Rawls sung background.
Oh, wow.
On Bring It On Home to Me. It wouldn't have been so bad, but I was doing a podcast interview. And the gentleman, Ben, he asked me, he was like, hey, but, since he, loves music himself, so he was like, hey, for 100 points, who sung backup on Bring It On Home to Me? I was like, now at first I was like, Al Green. I said, no, not Al Green. It was Lou Rawls. And then he was so impressed with me because I'm an 80s baby, right? So he's so impressed with me. He's like, wow, that's super impressive. I was like, first of all, I didn't know I was coming on here to play Jeopardy.
Right.
But because, you have to do research, I was like, oh, it was Lou Rawls. And I mean, now when I listen to the song, I can't help but to hear Lou Rawls as soon as he sings.
Yeah, because when you said that, and I do know the song, it's like I can hear Lou Rawls. Now that you're saying it, it's like, okay.
Right
in the background. We say,
okay. And like it's legit my favorite like Sam Cooke song, period, point blank. Now once again, love Sam Cooke, love all his music, but Bring It On Home to Me is like period, point blank, my favorite like Sam Cooke song. And with Nina Simone, I liked more, more of her popular ballads. Right. So, I Put a Spell on You, Feeling Good, you know what I mean? So like I had to find other songs that, that I really didn't know as much about. So a couple of songs like Plain Gold Ringer or He Needs Me. My favorite Nina Simone song, Black Swan. I didn't know about that till I started researching this book.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
So then when you listen to the lyrics and you know what the book is about, you like, did she just write the song for me? Like, did she know I was gonna write a book about it? I don't know. No, she probably didn't, but
Right.
So it was just it was such a blessing to have the song. I mean, it's it was like, if you listen to the lyrics, and I mean, emotion, energy, to me, it's the same. It's the same thing. Like, everything behind that song literally embodies what Sara is going through. Period. And she just has such a deep, soulful, just nobody else has that type of sound that Nina Simone has. Nobody.
That's true. She's
Right?
one of a kind. She's
pretty much. So, I kind of it was this kind of funny thing where I made like Nina Simone, Sarah's like musical avatar, and Jonas's musical avatar was like Sam Cooke.
Okay, so your two favorites. Now, we didn't talk about Jonas a lot yet, but I really love the character of Jonas. He just, it's nice to see a powerful, yet still complicated in his own ways, Black male character, especially during that time. And just, the things that he was doing, how he came to be where he was, and the fact that they both had gone through traumatic experiences in their lifetime, but had different approaches.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like you wanted Jonas to be that one side of the coin that Sara could kind of look at and say, okay, so this is how he managed his trauma and the things he went through, versus like, this is how I manage my trauma and the things that I go through, and kind of what can I learn from that, and what can we learn from each other. Jonas wasn't like I'm like, I ain't trying to do some white knight on a horse. Like, Sara don't need a prince. Sara needs a partner. And Jonas was the perfect partner for Sara. I made him kind of, more so of a cinnamon roll, but not perfect.
Right.
So, I needed to make sure that the readers knew, or the readers know, that while Jonas is great, like, Jonas stink. You know what I mean? Like, you might want to, like, throw punch him every once in a while, but you still love him.
Right.
And you see why Sara loves him. And I based Jonas off of my brother, my male cousins, guys that I've been with, different things, to just kind of make up this like amalgam of a guy who, who Sara gets under his skin and she gets under his, and but they both kind of find a way to work towards one another. And originally Jonas was supposed to be a lawyer. He wasn't supposed to be a teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, originally I was like modeling Jonas more so after like Thurgood Marshall. More so, you know what I'm saying? But
him being a teacher to me felt more real.
Yeah, I mean, it was that, but it was also like I would have to figure out all of the stuff that was going on in terms of lawyers. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't want to, have a lawyer read this and be like, what the hell is she, as opposed to, I know teachers. My mom is a teacher. Multiple relatives work in the field of education. I myself worked as a teacher's assistant briefly over a summer, just to make sure. I was like, should I be a teacher like my mom? And I worked my butt off as a TA. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of that summer, when I was 21, getting ready to be 22, I think, going to my last year of undergrad, I was like, no, I'm good. No, journalism is what I need.
My mom was a teacher too, so like, yeah, no.
I was like, and it was first graders. I was like, bro, no, journalism, no. I just want to deal with my kids. I can't deal with other people's. You know what I mean? And it wasn't the kids; it was the parents, though. Like the parents, I was just like,
yeah.
So I made Jonas a teacher, but Jonas originally was supposed to be a lawyer, but him being a teacher worked out a lot better with the plot. And it gave me an end to why he would be close to Mama Sugar and her family, because he's going to be tutoring Will, and this is how they meet, as opposed to figuring out like, okay, if he's a lawyer, how do I get an in here? And then it sounds like might be like a little muddled or convoluted, and but maybe one of these days I will write a Thurgood Marshall type, I hope.
Yeah. Because I mean,
Thurgood Marshall type finds a Ketanji Brown type.
Right. Yeah, there's room for all of it. Now, of course, this is taking place in the 60s. Of course, the civil rights movement is also in the story. It's a backdrop to the story. And just talking about the different things that were going on. I mean, things that we've heard before, like the fact that you may have had some preachers who were into it and helping to support the movement. Then you would have had others that weren't. At this point in the story, Malcolm X is already, doing his thing as well. So you have some people who are like, hey, we need to be like Malcolm, or others who are more like, we need to be like Martin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to kind of show that dichotomy. I think some people were expecting, I don't know, Sarah to be like picketing. And I'm like, bro, there's already enough that goes on in this story. And, while African Americans absolutely had many, many boots on the ground and many people plowing the field in terms of like the civil rights movement, there were a lot of African Americans who were talking about this, but just in their homes. They weren't necessarily active in that particular way in the civil rights movement, but like had their own little modes of resistance. So like Mama Sugar has a boarding house that she helps Black travelers. Okay, so she's not arm in arm with Martin Luther King Jr., but she's providing a safe haven for African Americans to be able to travel and stay in a place that's safe and clean and cozy, right? In order for people to be able to just do their work, and heck, just some people just live their lives, right? So that's like a method of resistance. Not every method of resistance has to be, flashy and showy, and the March on Washington, though that was a very important part, obviously, a very important flashpoint for the civil rights movement. It's the way in which you choose to support, the civil rights movement, to show, your resistance. And Sarah's right along there, helping her and living through these times. And it's also important like oral history. Like, okay, so this is what happened, son, and this is what we were doing, and this is how it was, and blah, blah, blah. And I think, I made it a backdrop intentionally because, some people really get off on the whole like racial trauma and like, then Sarah got beat with the baton. And I'm like, no, that's not what we're doing. That's not what I'm doing here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we're living our lives as Black people, you know what I mean? And experiencing things that are important, but like apart from the struggle of being Black. You know what I mean? Like our joy and our suffering and our sorrows that don't have to do necessarily with the civil rights movement are the stories that are just as important to be told. So that was the point.
And I mean, that's true, because I mean, even nowadays, when things happen that hit the media and everybody's talking about it and we, are upset about it, there are people who are still dealing with just their day-to-day life and dealing with their own day-to-day things. And it doesn't mean that you don't care, but sometimes you are not going to be the person who's in the forefront or marching and holding a sign or whatever, but you can do other things to support, like what Mama Sugar is doing by having this space, which I will assume would have been in the Green Book, where the Green Book, people know if this is a safe haven for you to go. Or I think about Georgia Gilmore, who was cooking and raising money to support, a lot of the people who were out there on the front lines. So there are a lot of ways that people were able to do that and be in support. And as I said, still be living through their own day-to-day lives.
I mean, think about, what we do now. Like, I'm not, picketing, or I'm not like, on the streets, protesting. My form of protest comes in the form of literature. Right. Your form of protest comes in the form of finding, writers like myself and other African-American women, and lifting them up and giving them a platform and giving them a voice. We all have different ways in which we resist.
So. Absolutely. That is so important. Believe it or not, we are getting near the end, so I want to make sure I hit all my questions. And we talked about that food. We had to do that.
You came on just like, look, so we don't talk about this food.
We're going to talk about them groceries, because groceries are important. But one of the last things, I guess, just as I have hit all my questions except for this very last one, in terms of just the book as a whole, or if people choose to read both books, individually, separately, whatever the case may be, what is it that you want people to take away from the Two Lives of Sara specifically? Is there anything in particular that as people read it, that they can learn from her or learn from the people that were surrounding her life, and just in terms of how we deal with challenging situations in our lives and learn how to, expand or move beyond?
Yes. So I think what I want people to learn most from the Two Lives of Sara is that even though things don't ultimately turn out the way we may like them to turn out, we still have a choice whether or not we're going to harbor our anger and our resentment and our bitterness, or if we're going to try to learn to let go of that as best as we can and still try to live lives full of hope and fulfillment and purpose. The choice is yours. You see the choice Sara made. Are you going to make that same choice, or, will you make a different choice? I think that's ultimately what I want people to take away from the Two Lives of Sara. You don't like everything she does. Cool. So you make a different choice. Right. And I credit this, you must really like the book because, I don't like how this ended, or I don't like, this point of the book. And it's like, yeah, so like, how would you go about it differently? You know what I mean? I think, people will, obviously, because I do, I read, like you internalize characters, and when something happens to the character, like it's almost like a personal affront to you. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes we have to kind of step outside of ourselves for a moment and think, okay, but like, what choice would I have made? Or if I found myself in a similar, situation in the future, how do I handle it? This is how Sara handled it, and I wasn't too keen on that. And so how would I handle it? Right? It's kind of like, in and of it's a cautionary tale, but it's a tale in and of itself that does have hopeful points. But ultimately, the choice of how you decide to live your life and how you decide to push through those hard times, that's your choice.
Yes, and the fact of the matter of it is that a lot of us have two lives. Back to the name of the book, a lot of us have double lives, so to speak. We can have the things that people see and the things that we want people to believe, and then there are those other things that we're dealing with within ourselves, and just learning how to, as you said, to move beyond and make the choices that are going to be right for you. Because another thing I will say that I really liked about Sara is that she She wavered like we all do, but she also at the same time had a strong sense of self, because there were things that were going on where she was kind of like, well, I'm not going to do that because that's going to create, an issue over here. Or I don't, I'm trying to take care of me. I don't have enough time to take care of me. And this, and, she knew that. So I could appreciate about her as a character, just like, okay, yeah, she's multi-layered like we all are, but then there was that piece where she's like, but I'm not going to give away all of myself, and if I make a choice, I'm going to make a choice because I feel like it's the best choice for me, regardless of what others may think about it.
Yeah, exactly. The freedom to do that. And I mean, now, in the 60s, that was a more so kind of like, oh, that's radical feminism. Like, no, that's just me being able to make the same choices if I had a penis and testicles. Like,
Right.
I'm going to do what's best for me, not, and I think it's also because women are so, especially Black women, we're raised to be like nurturers, not of ourselves and our self-care,
Right.
but of everybody else. Right? We see our moms do it, we see our grandmas do it, and then we naturally fall into that pattern. And then, then they're just like, well, why she drop dead at 56? Because she's taking care of half the neighborhood and half
Right.
the family.
Right.
There's only so much we can bear. So I kind of look towards, learning about myself and self-care, and like we were talking about earlier, about like boundaries, about things like, what? No, I'm not going to put up with that. No, I'm not going to do this. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, not assign yourself guilt or blame for that, but to just say, hey, I took care of myself. And in doing that, I'm able to help take care of other people, and I really think that that's also something that, can be taken away from this too.
All right. And thank you. We have a couple of comments. One from Laura. The pain is familiar. The unknown is scary, but there is a choice. Love the concept. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Laura. And Tamara. Let's see. I felt that way and had to explore it from different angles. I said, why did I finish this before going to bed? Then talk to myself for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, look, some of the best books are when you sitting up there and you want to throw the book across the room, or you just, you're yelling at a character about the choices that they made as opposed to the choices you make. But I mean, I think in that point that it my book absolutely served the purpose, and then I feel like I did my job, because my job was to make you feel something. If you didn't finish the book, or you were just like, meh, I'd rather you have, strong feelings about it. You know what I mean? Because like I said, then that means I did my job as a writer.
Right.
And all of the scenes that you love, or all of the scenes that you may not, love so much, or the things that happen that you may not like so much, I am not being flippant when I said it. When I say it wasn't easy for me to write them, right. It really wasn't. Like, there were scenes I actually procrastinated writing because I was like, I don't want to do it, but I have to. I don't have a choice, because if I don't, the story isn't going to emotionally progress in the way that I need it to.
Right. And along that line, we have still angry about Jonas, but you left it open for a part 2. We talked about this beforehand, so that's a good segue. Thank you, Andra.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people might be upset about, Jonas. Like I said, I'm upset about him. But I mean, what happened, and it was intentional for Sarah's growth. Once again, it's one of those things where, what are you going to do? Are you going to, move past things that, that happened that you didn't want to happen, and you're going to become angry and embittered? Or are you going to try to find a way through that? Like, the choice was Sarah. She made her choice, but like, you take that in and think about what choice you'd make. And in terms of, book 2, or is there book 2? Saving Ruby King is book 1. And then you have the 2 Lives of Sara. Book 3, I'm taking a break from the universe, because I've been dealing with these characters since like 2012. So it's been like 10 years. I
Oh,
need a
yeah.
break.
Mm-hmm.
Because I started writing Saving Ruby King in 2012 and I finished in 2017 and
Oh,
then met
wow.
my agent and and then the 2 Lives of Sarah took me like only 5 months to write, not 5 years, but I was on deadline.
Gotcha.
So with book 3, I'm taking a break. It's been a decade. So I'm taking a break and I'm writing something completely different and a completely new universe, different characters, has nothing to do with any of the characters of my first 2 books because I want to write something new and something different that isn't contemporary fiction or historical fiction. So I'm gonna dive into some speculative fiction, some urban fiction with some religious elements, and I hope that everybody enjoys book 3. But it's gonna be nothing like my, but the 2 Lives of Sarah was nothing like Saving Ruby King. Saving Ruby King was nothing like the 2 Lives of Sarah, and book 3 will be nothing like these other 2. I just don't like to be creatively pigeonholed. But eventually, I feel that I will go back and revisit these characters and just kind of create, some closure to the saga because I personally wasn't expecting all this attention with these books.
Wow,
I was like,
that's
okay.
a blessing.
I know, and I'm not complaining about my tiara being crooked. It wasn't a humble brag at all. I wasn't expecting the attention that I got. I'm extremely grateful for the attention that I got. Please keep it coming. But I want to do something a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you liked that what I do. In book 3 that's completely different. So and I get to take it back to Chicago, back to my hometown,
Okay.
and do some fun things. I hope.
All right. Well, like Laura says, variety is spice.
It is the pumpkin spice of life.
Yes, it is the season. Oh, and Tamara, again, I appreciate your work. I was angry, but you are talented. Yeah. So yeah,
I appreciate the honesty, Tamara, and I hope with book 3 I make you a little less angry.
Right. Well, we appreciate you. I'm so glad that you were here with me again. We've been kicking it online since the end latter part of 2020. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what else you have coming out and seeing you again and just staying in touch because you are a delight. And if you're ever in my neck of the woods in the ATL, we have to get together and go get some soul food.
Absolutely. Some of the best soul food I ever had was in Atlanta. I remember it was cedar plank salmon, spinach with chili sauce, and grits with pepper jack cheese. When I tell you I ate, when I tell you I ate, listen, it loosened up the belt loop a couple notches. I had peach cobbler and some vanilla honeybee ice cream. Listen, don't talk to me. Don't talk.
Well, I'll definitely keep that in mind. Look out for some of the best spots. So
thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure and an honor. And anytime you need me, I'll be there. Okay,
that's right. When you need to join in, I'm just adding a little.
I know. Gladys Knight in the pit.
Add a little move to it because the 70s, that's my era. So yeah. So I'm gonna let you go because I know you have to be up early for your day job. So I'm gonna let you go so you can get some rest, and we will be in touch and see you again soon. Real quick, I'm gonna make the announcements about the next books. So if you want to hang on and see what they are, you can do that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
I'm gonna do a little show and tell. Let me get my right banners going.
Show and tell. Just a game.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. I don't know why I keep singing tonight.
It's the music.
It is.
So next we're gonna have Jollof Rice and Other Revolutions by Omololo Ijeoma Ogunyemi. That's a mouthful. So if I didn't say it right, I'll have it right by next week. But yes, we'll be doing this one next week on the 10th. And then in 2 weeks, we will have The Last Dreamwalker by Dr. Rita Woods in a couple of weeks. And then not finishing out the month, but in 3 weeks, we will have the return Wanda M. Morrison with Anywhere You Run. So that's what's coming up over the next 3 weeks. You know, we're about these books by Black women across genres, as you can see. So I am so looking forward to seeing you all again soon. And actually, over the weekend, the Decatur Book Festival was here, and I met some other authors. So we're rolling right along. Pretty much every week, except for a couple of weeks taken off during the holidays. But so thank everyone for being here. As always, I appreciate you. Thank you again, Catherine, for hanging up and staying up late with me for you. So I appreciate
anytime. And I know Dr. Woods and Wanda, those books is bomb. I can't you're gonna have a great conversation.
Oh yes, absolutely. I'm definitely looking forward to, you know, the first time for Dr. Woods and the second time for Wanda. So I'm looking forward to that. So everybody else will see you again soon. If you enjoyed this conversation, please, you know, don't forget to like, share, follow, and both of us, so you know what's coming next, and also to know what Catherine will be doing with her upcoming work. So, oh, we have somebody from England. Hey, welcome from England. I know it's early in the morning over there, so thank you, appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, then. Well, you all have a good one, and we'll see you again next week. Talk soon.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. You don't have to hang up yet.
Okay.